Well, the curfew in Egypt is supposed to start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and last until 8 the next morning, but it's having little impact.
With the demonstrations getting much closer to one of the army posts and the gunfire that we can hear rocketing through the air, the demonstrators say that's the army firing to warn them to stay away. But it's long, more gunshots. It's long after curfew right now. And if the government was controlling the situation, these people, tracer fire flying in the air. These people wouldn't be out on the streets if the government was in control. But right now, they're continuing that demand for Hosni Mubarak to step down. And the demand we've seen earlier in the day as well, this one. Foreign governments, stop hypocrisy and stand for Egyptians. What people are saying, and they've been telling us this all day, they're frustrated with the United States, frustrated with Britain. They've said they'll demonstrate and continue their demonstrations through the night, and this is exactly what we can see happening. Those shots we saw being fired over the crowd before from the army, what does that mean?
That is quite of a clear message to the Egyptian people, and that is a clear sign that the military is siding up with the people. And we're actually waiting for the military to take a more serious step at this point to say, the president, we're not covering you anymore.
And that's more gunshots there.
Yes, that is basically either cheering or just basically saying to their commands that we're doing our jobs. But what is practically happening on the grounds, that are not apprehending any demonstrations. They are siding with the people, and we've seen it across in local territories as well, in inner city, more of aside from highways, etc. So it's a clear message that the military is not doing what the regime is asking to do by preventing demonstrations and enforcing curfews, etc.
Well, it's already a couple of hours past the curfew. It's dark, and the men on the streets here are now guarding the streets. They've got sticks in their hands. They seem quite friendly, and if you look at them all, they've got the white armbands on. When they've got the white armbands on, that means that they're the sort of official neighborhood watch. Kids coming up. It is. What does it say? Ashway. Okay. Yeah. Un peu. That's okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Shukran. Thank you. So this is calling for Islamic law and not to trust Mohammed al-Baradei.
And it is signed by the Islamic movement in Alexandria.
The Islamic movement in Alexandria, is that the Muslim Brotherhood or is that more groups?
Well, no, this is more probably a Salafi movement.
So this is more extreme than the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yes.
CNN's Nick Robertson reporting there. So I guess the question is, where is all of this heading? Michael McKinley is a senior lecturer in international relations at the ANU in Canberra. He told me a little while ago that it looked like it was the end of the line for the Egyptian president.
I think Mubarak will go eventually. I mean, after all, he is 83 and in bad health, but I think he wants to go with some sort of decency. And at this stage, it's very fluid, but I would say that the best we could hope for at this stage in terms of a peaceful transition would be that the army act as the good broker almost, do some negotiations with the various leaders of the dissident groups, and at the end of it, Mubarak will go in a few weeks or maybe a month or so, but I think he will go.
The problem, Michael, of course, that it's not just Mubarak, is it? It's the whole system that's corrupt.
It is, and the question we don't know is what the main power brokers around the establishment will do. The military, that is to say the army, have to be taken very seriously. The National Democratic Party maybe somewhat less so. So the question then is, what would the leaders of the dissident groups accept? Now, they certainly want Mubarak to go. They want democracy, which would probably mean elections at some point. How soon that could be arranged and what would be the role of the military or what groups might come forward in the interim, we simply don't know. And this is a situation where the answer to a whole lot of questions is really we don't know.
In terms of those groups that might come forward, we know that the Muslim Brotherhood has been campaigning for many years. Is there a danger that Egypt will replace an autocratic ruler with an Islamist regime?
It's hard to say at this stage because the Muslim Brotherhood have kept their demands over the years relatively tame, relatively moderate. Now, they've had to do that because Mubarak has basically intimated that if they didn't, he would come down like a ton of bricks, and he's done that on various other groups. So the Muslim Brotherhood are unknown. The aspirations of the military, who are not just the old guard who see themselves as a main power force in Egyptian politics in the Nasserite tradition. There's not just them. There are thought to be some younger officers who perhaps are more Islamist than their superiors. We don't know whether they would try and seize the opportunity. And we don't know, of course, just how powerful in the long run are people like the sort of the more liberals, if you like, around al-Baradei. But what we have to take into account is what is sometimes referred to as the street. And the street, I think, is less likely to follow Baradei and more likely to follow some sort of Islamist line.
OK, thank you, Michael. That's Michael McKinley of the ANU.
Thanks, Andrew.